Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Doctor Who DVD, Blu-ray, and Target Books Collection Overview. Okay, so continuing our Doctor by Doctor look through the collection here. Today we'll be taking a look at all the DVDs that I have of Second Doctor Adventures. There's been a few new releases since I did the DVD disambiguation a few years ago, so definitely a few updates there. Got a couple of VHS tapes that tie in with that, and then of course we'll take a look at all the Target books I have that novelize the various Second Doctor stories. Alright, let's get to it. The Second Doctor, today on the Doctor Who Collection Overview on the Multimedia Chronicles. Alright, so there's been a few more releases since I did my DVD disambiguation a few years back, so a lot of you have been saying I should do some kind of an updated edition. Well, this is it. I consider this to be that. So, we'll start from the beginning here, where we actually got the Second Doctor's very first adventure, Power of the Daleks. Now, all 6 episodes of this story are missing. So what this is they actually took the original audio tracks, which do exist, and animated all 6 episodes. So they did a full animated version of it, which is pretty cool. Now this was released in high definition on Blu-ray in the UK, but here in North America we only got it on DVD, unfortunately. Now, interestingly enough, we have a black and white and full color version as well. Which one is which? I can't tell which is which. I think this is the black and white one, and this is the color one. In deference to remaining historically accurate, I've only actually watched the black and white one. But I actually watched this with Rosie, and even she really enjoyed it. She really liked the Second Doctor a lot. So, very cool. This was a bit of an experiment, I guess, because prior to this, they had done animated reconstructions of other missing episodes, but only for stories that had at least a few episodes. The general rule of thumb seemed to be they would do it for stories that had that had no more than 2 episodes missing. So there's a few releases in here where they did do animated reconstructions of the missing episodes and included the existing episodes. That said, the next one, which is a few stories later, this is story 30? It doesn't actually say on it, but it's I think it's story 30, because what was it? The 10th planet was story 29. So here we have story 32. Story 31 was the Highlanders, for which, again, no episodes exist. It was the introduction of Jamie. So this is the first story where they actually do have some existing episodes. This is the Underwater Menace, which is a 4-parter. They have episodes 2 and 3. And this was the first time that they actually did any kind of release of, I think it was episode 3, which had only recently been discovered. And, actually had been discovered a few years earlier and just didn't get any kind of a release. So they got a bunch of extras on here. This is the last thing that the Doctor Who restoration team actually did extras for. And for whatever reason, the reconstruction on this, they were going to do animated episodes like they've done with some of the other releases, but the company they wanted to do it was asking for too much money or something, so they decided to just go with a simple photosnap reconstruction. And that said, a really simple photosnap reconstruction where they didn't really put any effort into it at all. And that was mandated from on high. The reconstruction team actually offered to do a better job of it, but they were told just to do the most basic reconstruction imaginable, so that's what we got. Well, something's better than nothing anyway. It's nice to at least have another complete story in some form. And then we have story number 33, The Moon Base, which is basically the earliest adventure of the Cybermen, featuring the Cybermen for the Second Doctor. It's very cool. So this one actually features 2 complete episodes, and then the other episodes are animated. And quite nice. Lots of extras on there. This is really good. This is one of the first novelizations I read, actually. It was called Doctor Who and the Cybermen, which I really enjoyed. And then next up we have story number 37, The Tomb of the Cybermen. So this is the first full, complete story in the archives. And for a long time, this was actually totally missing. And then in the early 90s, they actually discovered all 4 episodes in, like, the basement of a monastery somewhere. It was, like, some really obscure location where they found them. So, yeah, so very cool. So this is the original DVD release of Tomb of the Cybermen. And the reason I have this is because it has some extras on it that were not ported over to the special edition version of Tomb of the Cybermen. So this is the one you want for the better picture quality, because it's a slightly better restoration than the original DVD release. But it is, and it does have a lot of additional extras that are not on the old release. But it is, specifically, it's missing a convention panel, which featured, had Katie Manning and some other cast and crew on there. But it was a lot of fun and sadly missing. So that's why I tracked down the original release. And then we have story number 39, The Ice Warriors. Now, this is an interesting one because it was another one that was basically completely missing for a long time. It's a 6-part story. They found 4 of the 6 episodes. So this contains the 4 complete episodes and animated reconstructions of the 2 missing ones. Now, a few years back, there was also a VHS release of this, which is this one here, which basically contained the 4 complete episodes and a photosnap reconstruction, condensed reconstruction of the 2 missing episodes. As it happens, the 2 missing episodes, I think it was episodes 2 and 3, were consecutive, so they basically just did a condensed version of those using existing photos and clips and stuff like that to give us the complete story. And then it has a CD with it that contains the complete audio of both of those episodes as well. Now, this is quite a nice addition. I'll just give you a quick look here. So it has the VHS tape there, and then it actually has a booklet which gives you all kinds of information about the history of the Ice Warriors and some archival material as well. So quite a cool thing to have. Nice little collector's item. Not a lot of pictures in there, but anyway, it gives you a history of the Ice Warriors and information about the stories they were in and stuff like that. So very cool. Then next up, this was found around the time of the 50th anniversary. This was a really big deal when this came out. We have The Enemy of the World, where for a long time only 1 episode of this existed. Well, they recovered all 6 episodes, so it's actually the full story for the first time. Well, at the time, it hadn't been seen in about 45 years in its complete form. This is story number 40. And if we slide it out of the slipcover here, we have a different cover inside, and the spine lines up a little more with the other releases there. Now, this is just a bare bones release. There's no extras on this. I should make mention, however, there was recently a special edition re-release of this with, I think, some additional restoration done to the picture and sound, and also a bunch of extras, so it's much more in tune with the other releases. However, at this point in time, there's no Region 1 release. It's only been released in Region 2, so that's one I might actually consider importing at some point, just to have that additional material there. And then at the same time they discovered The Enemy of the World, they also recovered The Web of Fear, all but 1 episode of it. Specifically, they're missing episode 3. Now, there is a rumor that they actually did recover episode 3, and some private collector snapped it away from them before the BBC was able to finalize the deal. So, if that's true, poo on you, whoever you were. You selfish poop. So, in this case, in lieu of having the complete episode 3, they once again did a very simple, very basic photo snap reconstruction using existing photos and telesnaps, and that's it. But at least, again, for the longest time, we only had 1 episode of this, so it's great to at last have it in some kind of complete form, especially considering what an important story this is. I mean, it's the story that introduces, at the time, Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, later to become the Brigadier, and also was the return of the Abominable Snowman, the Yeti. It was quite, quite popular and very scary. And then here we have story number 44, The Dominators, which is a lot of fun. I just love how incompetent the aliens are in this. It cracks me up every time. And then we have The Mind Robber. I showed this one to my little girl, and she really enjoyed it a lot, actually, and wanted to see more of the Second Doctor. So we'll probably watch some more of these at some point. This is story number 45. Now we're into Patrick Troughton's final season here. Most of the stories from this season exist in some form. Then we have The Invasion, which is an epic 8-part Cyberman invasion story. This was, I think, the first one they released where they did animated reconstructions of episodes. And it was quite well received. And I gotta say, it's very well done. They did a great job of it. So this is pretty cool. This is also features the return of the Brigadier. It's great to see him back. And it kind of also, it's described as the Unit Seed story, where basically this is the first appearance of what would later become Unit. So special task force to deal with alien invasions. And then we have the Crotons. Not the croutons, the Crotons. Some really funny dialogue in this, but the story itself is kind of meh. Story number 47. And then we have the Ice Warriors returning in the Seeds of Death. This is the special edition version. I don't think there's really much point in getting the original release of this. As far as I know, everything's been ported over to the special edition. This is story number 48. Quite good. And then we're missing story 49. There's only one episode of it in existence, but we go straight to story 50, the epic 10-part finale, the final story of the Second Doctor, and the introduction of the Time Lords. So we finally know a little bit more about the Doctor's people and who they are and where they come from and what they're all about. So this is such a good one. I mean, for being 10 parts long, this thing moves at such a fast pace. Like, it really doesn't feel like it's 4 hours long, but it's just a really great story, full of action and suspense and drama, and a wonderful send-off for a wonderful Doctor. And then here, finally, we have the Lost in Time collection for the Second Doctor. So much like the William Hartnell set, this is all of the sort of orphaned episodes, all the stray episodes, and stuff like that. So let's see what we've got here. We've got a little bit of this is outdated now with some of the subsequent releases, but so we have the one episode that existed at the time of the Underwater Menace, the 2 episodes of the Moon Base, 1 episode of the Faceless Ones, or is it 2? 1 or 2 episodes, I can't remember. There's 2 episodes, I think, of Evil of the Daleks, 1 episode of the Abominable Snowmen, the 1 episode that existed at the time of the Enemy of the World, 1 episode that existed at the time of the Web of Fear. The Wheel in Space had 2 episodes, and the Space Pirates had 1 episode. So that's stories 32, 33, 35, 36, 38, 40, 41, 43, and 49, respectively. 1, 2, 3, 4 of which have since had standalone DVD releases. So so if you get this, you basically got all the remaining orphaned episodes that are not included on any of the other sets. And there's also surviving footage and clips from the Macro Terror, the Underwater Menace, the Highlanders, the Power of the Daleks, the Web of Fear, the Abominable Snowmen, the Wheel in Space, the Space Pirates, and Fury from the Deep. So basically some bits and pieces that they've recovered over the years. Sadly, no full episodes of most of those. But I should mention also there is a rumor at the moment. There was some kind of pre-order listing that appeared on Amazon UK for the Wheel in Space. So the latest rumor going around is, I'm thinking because Power of the Daleks sold so well, they may be looking at doing more animated reconstructions of episodes. Now, in the case of the Wheel in Space, they have 2 of the 6 episodes, so that would mean animating 4 of them. But here's hoping that rumor is true, and we're going to see some more classic Who brought back to life in animated form, which would be great. Now, just before we get into the books here, I was just going to show you this one, Cybermen: The Early Years. I talked about this one briefly in the William Hartnell overview as well, because it does have some clips from the 10th Planet. But basically this has, again, this is really outdated now because it's got some clips from Tomb of the Cybermen and The Invasion. I think Tomb of the Cybermen had just been rediscovered at the time that this video came out, and had just been rushed out to a VHS release. But and then we got the 2 existing episodes of the Moon Base, which of course is outdated now because we've got the full DVD with beautiful restored picture and the animated remaining episodes. And then you got the 2 remaining episodes of the Wheel in Space, which is episodes 3 and 6. So there you go. And this, of course, is hosted by Doctor Number 6, Colin Baker. Very cool. And finally, taking a look at the Doctor Who the Second Doctor novelizations that I have. So I've got Doctor Who and the Cybermen. This is actually an earlier printing than the one that I used to have. The one that I used to have back in the day, the one that I read, it had the neon logo and a more recent painting by Andrew Skilleter of one of the Cybermen. So there you go. So very cool. So this is actually the moon base. They just retitled it Doctor Who and the Cybermen. Some of the early novelizations, they would do that. And then we have the Evil of the Daleks. I got this for stupidly cheap, considering how sought after it is these days, and in really nice condition too. It's one of the last novelizations, actually, and I'm guessing it didn't have a very high print run because it goes for crazy money nowadays most of the time. And then we've got The Enemy of the World. Very nice. Which for a long time was the only way you could get the full story, was to read the novelization. Written by Ian Marter, by the way, Harry Sullivan himself. And then we have a very recent reprint edition of The Web of Fear. I just grabbed this because it was easier to get than tracking down the old ones. But I'm probably going to track down one of the old ones anyway, just because I'd like to have the same edition that I used to have back in the day. And then we've got The Dominators. Really love some of these painted covers, actually. Really, really nice. And then we have The Mind Robber. Really fun story. I've always liked this one. They go into the world of imagination. The Seeds of Death. That's a really good Ice Warrior cover, actually. Very nice. I always like that one too. The Doctor fighting killer soap bubbles. And we got The Invasion. Another one by Ian Marter. And then finally, The War Games. For being such a massive story, it's actually quite a short book. Target had this thing where they didn't want their novelizations to be more than about 128 pages. Okay, this one was 143, so I guess they got a few extra pages to do this one. But still, I mean, to cram a 10-part story into that many pages is just crazy. So, there you go. That is all I have of the Second Doctor. That's pretty much everything that exists on DVD. Sadly, a lot of gaps in the collection there. And obviously, I need a lot more of the novelizations. But as I'm sure you can imagine, I'm kind of focusing on them going by Doctor. So I've got most of the first Doctor novels now, so I'm starting to shift my focus over to the Second Doctor. I hope to get more of those in the near future. Oh, wait a second, not quite done yet. I forgot one. Specifically, this one, the Troughton Years. Now, this is kind of cool because it's actually hosted by John Pertwee, Doctor Number 3. They were great friends and often did convention appearances together and everything, and they got along great. So it was always a lot of fun whenever they would do the multi-Doctor stories, and their two Doctors were always so antagonistic, but in real life they're actually really good friends. So the Troughton Years, much like the Hartnell Years, is basically a collection of orphaned episodes from missing stories and things like that. So, and this has a lot of clips on it as well. So now, of course, most of this is now redundant because of this, but it is cool to have just for the John Pertwee intros and to see, just kind of this particular collection of stuff. So what we have here is 3 complete episodes. We've got episode 2 of The Abominable Snowmen, episode 3 of The Enemy of the World, and episode 2 of The Space Pirates. So at the time, those were all that existed of those 3 stories, just those 3 single episodes. So it was for many of us, this was the first time we had actually been able to see any of those episodes in any form. So it was great to see those pieces of those stories. And then they've got excerpts from The Web of Fear, The Tree Doctors. Can you see that? The Tree Doctors. Yeah, that's great. And then the 5 Doctors and the 2 Doctors, because of course the Patrick Troughton appeared in all of the multi-Doctor stories actually from the classic era, which was pretty cool. So yeah, so just wanted to make sure I showed you that one for completion's sake, and I'll put that in there. And there we go. So now that is truly all that I have of the Second Doctor. And there you go. So that is everything I have for the Second Doctor. Despite the fact that they're missing quite a few of his stories, I'm glad to see that they're putting in effort to get as many of his stories out there as possible with the reconstructions and the animated versions and stuff like that. So here's hoping that we see more of them getting the animated or reconstructed treatment in the years to come. Or, even better, hopefully they'll find more episodes. Alrighty, that is it for today's overview episode. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time as we take a look at the Third Doctor and the start of my personal favorite era, the 70s. That's next time. Until then, thanks for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and sayonara.